Lil Loaded's death wasn't just another headline, it was a shocking twist that left the rap world in disbelief. On May 31, 2021, the rising Dallas rapper was found dead, and rumors spread fast. Some blamed a breakup, others whispered darker truths. But behind the fame, behind the plaques and viral hits, was a story of guilt, trauma, and pressure that no one truly saw coming.
The death of Lil Loaded, the shocking end. On May 31, 2021, the hip-hop community was rocked to its core. News broke that Deshaun Maurice Robertson, the Dallas rapper better known as Lil Loaded, had been found dead in his Cedar Hill home. He was just 20 years old, a young star on the rise, suddenly gone in a way that nobody saw coming. Authorities called it a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but for fans and friends, the explanation felt too simple for such a complex story. Immediately, speculation flooded social media. Some claimed the tragedy stemmed from a breakup with his girlfriend, painting it as another case of heartbreak turned fatal. Others weren't convinced. To them, that theory seemed shallow compared to the life Lil Loaded had lived. The pain, the losses, the trauma he carried. Could a breakup really break someone who had already survived bullets, prison visits, and street violence? Or was there something heavier weighing on him? What made the timing even haunting was how success seemed to be finally catching up to him. Just 6 days earlier, his breakout single Block Baby had been certified gold, a milestone that proved he was more than just a viral rapper. For most artists, that moment would have been a celebration, a turning point. For Loaded, it became a cruel contrast. Recognition and achievement on one side, unbearable inner turmoil on the other. And then came the Instagram post. Hours before his death, Loaded wrote a message that read like a farewell letter to God. In it, he thanked the Most High for his blessings, admitted to falling short, and asked for forgiveness. He spoke of blurred lines between loyalty and coldness, love and mistakes. Reading those words after the fact felt chilling, like the diary of a young man ready to let go. Fans, fellow artists, and even his lawyer would later debate what really pushed him over the edge. But one thing became clear: this wasn't about a single moment. His death was the result of years of wounds, trauma, guilt, and unspoken battles that no plaque or record deal could erase. And to understand what truly led to Lil Loaded's shocking end, we have to rewind to the tragedy that haunted him long before that final day.
The underlying cause, a deadly accident. To understand why Lil Loaded's final day ended in tragedy, we need to rewind to October 25, 2020, the day that changed everything. What began as a casual afternoon with friends quickly spiraled into the moment that would haunt him forever. That day, Lil Loaded was back in his old neighborhood, hanging out with his crew, including his closest friend, 18-year-old Khalil Savage Boozy. These weren't just homies, they were like brothers, bonded by loyalty and survival. The group was filming a music video, and as often happens in rap culture, real weapons were being used as props. Among them was a Draco pistol, a weapon that looks menacing on camera but can turn deadly in a split second. Around 2:40 p.m., gunshots rang out. Khalil's sister rushed outside to find her little brother lying in the street with a bullet wound to his torso. Standing nearby were Lil Loaded and another friend, Cameron Walker. Instead of fleeing, they scooped Khalil up and rushed him to Methodist Charlton Medical Center, desperate to save his life. Despite their efforts, Khalil died about 2 hours later. That should have been the end of the story, a tragic accident between friends. But soon after, rumors started spreading. Khalil's sister allegedly found a video on his phone showing Lil Loaded firing the shot. Police reports turned that clip into a key piece of evidence. Almost overnight, the streets began whispering, was this murder or a mistake? Authorities came down hard. Just 2 weeks later, on November 9, 2020, Lil Loaded turned himself in to Dallas police, facing a murder charge. His bond was set at $500,000, a sign of how seriously the system was taking the case. But those who really knew Loaded insisted it was an accident. His Instagram post the same day carried raw pain. "They thought we had the same mama. See you soon." That wasn't the language of a killer. It was the cry of someone who had just lost his brother in all but blood. Eventually, the charge was reduced to manslaughter, acknowledging what most believed all along, that this was reckless, not intentional. Still, the damage was done. Loaded was left carrying the unbearable guilt of accidentally killing his best friend, a weight no courtroom ruling could erase. And while the legal system gave him some relief, the emotional scars ran far deeper. To really understand why, we have to go back even further to the painful losses and traumas that shaped Lil Loaded long before fame ever found him.
Losses and traumas that shaped him. Long before the manslaughter case, Lil Loaded was already carrying scars that would shape the way he lived and the way he died. His story wasn't just about one tragic accident in 2020. It was about a lifetime of pain that started when he was just a kid. Born on August 1st, 2000, in San Bernardino, California, Deshaun moved to Dallas when he was still young. His father was locked up, leaving his mother to raise 5 children on her own. That meant growing up in an environment where struggle was normal and survival became second nature. There were no safety nets, no easy escapes, just the streets and the lessons they forced you to learn. At only 15 years old, tragedy struck again. His older brother, the one who had been like a father figure to him, was killed in the streets of Dallas. For any teenager, losing a sibling is devastating, but for Deshaun, it was a turning point that hardened him. Instead of pulling away from the streets, he went deeper. In his own words, the loss turned him up. It made him feel like nobody cared about his brother's death, and that realization pushed him further into the mindset of survival at all costs. Not long after, he faced his own brushes with death. At 15, he was shot at for the first time. By 18, a bullet nearly killed him. It entered his hand just inches from his face. If not for that, he might have been gone before his music career ever began. But in the hood, going to the hospital wasn't an option. Instead, he had the bullet removed in a living room by a friend's mother. No anesthesia, no doctors, just raw pain and survival. That's the kind of world he came from. Each of these experiences stacked on top of the other, a missing father, a murdered brother, bullets flying before he was old enough to drink. It wasn't just trauma, it was a constant reminder that life could end at any moment. And while most kids his age were thinking about school or sports, Lil Loaded was learning to carry grief, guilt, and paranoia as part of daily life. And when he finally found music, it wasn't just a career move, it was his only escape from the pain. But even as his songs blew up, the trauma never left. In fact, it followed him right into the spotlight.
Music and success, the rise of a star. By the time most teenagers were finishing high school, Lil Loaded had already lived through more pain than many people face in a lifetime. But instead of letting it silence him, he began pouring that energy into music. What started in late 2018 as freestyling with friends quickly turned into something bigger, a voice for the struggles he couldn't say out loud. His earliest tracks were raw and unpolished, but they carried a spark that couldn't be ignored. Then came the moment that changed his life, Block Baby. Recorded almost entirely off the top of his head in just 2 takes, the track had all the ingredients of a street anthem, catchy, aggressive, and brutally authentic. At first, though, it sat on YouTube unnoticed, just another upload in a sea of aspiring rappers. That all shifted when Tommy Craze, a Polish YouTuber, stumbled on the video while doing a 0 views reaction series. Within hours of the upload, Tommy's reaction put Lil Loaded in front of thousands of new eyes. By the next morning, the song had racked up 45,000 views. By the end of that same day, it hit 150,000. Overnight, Lil Loaded went from a local kid with a dream to an artist labels couldn't ignore. Soon after, he signed with Epic Records, and Block Baby only grew bigger, eventually earning gold certification. And it didn't stop there. Tracks like Gang Unit exploded even further, proving he wasn't a one-hit wonder. In just a few short years, this kid from Dallas had gone from sleeping on couches to touring, signing deals, and stacking plaques. But while fans saw the flashy side, the jewelry, the cars, the plaques, the darker side never went away. The same traumas that fueled his music were still eating away at him. The fame only amplified the pressure. Suddenly, every lyric was scrutinized, every move was public, and the expectations were crushing. For someone who had already been carrying grief and guilt since childhood, the spotlight was both a blessing and a curse. Lil Loaded had the talent, the hustle, and the momentum, but inside, the weight of the past never left. If anything, it grew heavier as his career took off, and by 2021, those pressures from fame, from the streets, and from his own guilt were reaching a breaking point that no amount of success could hold back.
The final moments. By late May of 2021, Lil Loaded should have been celebrating. His breakout single, Block Baby, had just gone gold, a milestone that stamped him as more than a viral sensation. Labels were invested, fans were excited, and his future in hip-hop looked wide open. But behind the numbers and plaques, his personal world was collapsing. On the night of May 30th, 2021, his mother recalled seeing her son in a state she couldn't ignore, crying, breaking down, and overwhelmed. She described it as a moment of complete despair, triggered in part by drama with his girlfriend. To outsiders, that detail was enough to build a story. A breakup pushed him over the edge. But anyone who understood Lil Loaded's life knew better. His pain wasn't born in one night. It was the result of years of trauma stacked on top of guilt that had never been resolved. Hours later, he posted on Instagram. This wasn't a flex or a casual post. It was a chilling farewell to God. He wrote, "Dear Most High, please forgive me for my shortcomings. I ask for entrance into your kingdom through all of my mistakes." He thanked those who had supported him, spoke about blurred lines between loyalty and coldness, and admitted he was ready for his heart and soul to move on. It read less like a message to fans and more like a suicide note disguised as a prayer. On the morning of May 31st, his mother discovered the unthinkable. Lil Loaded was found dead in the hallway of their Cedar Hill home, a gun nearby. She called 911 immediately, but it was already too late. The hip-hop world reacted with disbelief. Artists like NLE Choppa, Lil Nar, and Whiffy's Funeral posted tributes mourning a talent gone far too soon. Fans on Reddit debated endlessly. Was it really just about a girl? Or was it the unbearable guilt of Khalil's death mixed with the looming stress of a court appearance scheduled the very next day? The truth was likely all of it. Heartbreak, guilt, trauma, and pressure colliding at once. Lil Loaded wasn't just fighting one demon, he was carrying the weight of them all. And his death became more than a tragedy. It became a warning about what happens when pain is ignored until it's too late.
Lessons from a lost talent. The death of Lil Loaded wasn't just another sad headline about a young rapper gone too soon. It was a wake-up call. On the surface, some said it was about a breakup. Others pointed to the stress of his upcoming court date. But when you pull back the layers, the truth becomes painfully clear. Lil Loaded was a young man crushed by years of unhealed trauma, survivor's guilt, and the relentless weight of fame. From losing his older brother at just 15, to being shot at before he was even a legal adult, to accidentally killing his best friend Khalil Walker, Loaded carried burdens that no teenager should ever have to bear. Those experiences didn't vanish when he got signed, when Block Baby went gold, or when fans screamed his name. If anything, success only magnified the cracks already running through his life. His story also highlights a dangerous culture in hip-hop, the use of real guns in music videos. What's seen as a symbol of authenticity can, and often does, turn deadly. Khalil's death was the result of this recklessness, and the guilt from that day was a wound that never healed. As DJ Ghost and other voices pointed out, accidents like this aren't freak events. They're the inevitable outcome of treating live weapons like props. But perhaps the most important lesson from Lil Loaded's life is the one about mental health. Too often, young men, especially in the streets, are told to stay tough, hide the pain, and keep moving. Loaded did just that until the weight became too much. His Instagram farewell wasn't just a goodbye. It was a cry that he had been carrying these feelings all along, without the space or resources to deal with them. Lil Loaded's legacy lives on through his music, through tracks that captured the raw truth of his world. But his death forces a bigger conversation about how communities, industries, and fans need to care for the people behind the music, not just consume the art they create. He was more than a viral sensation. He was a son, a brother, a friend, a young man who rose from nothing, only to be broken by the weight of everything he had endured. Rest in peace to Deshaun Lil Loaded and to Khalil Savage Boozy, two young lives cut short but not forgotten. Their stories should serve as lessons about the cost of violence, the importance of healing, and the price we all pay when pain is left to fester in silence.